I think one of the biggest things I find that people might have in their head is to get work with these big companies, you need to have worked with big companies to get the work. Like, and it's like, well, it can't be the case because no one would actually be able to get in there. Like, no one would be able to start working with them. A lot of the companies, even like the big top agencies, they're not looking for the big companies you worked for. They are looking at the work you produce and how much quality is in that. Like the type, like if it is character animation, they're going to be watching those characters that you've animated and potentially designed. Like that's the biggest part I've found. You don't need to have a big company brand list in your portfolio to get that work.
I thought about it, and it's part of like the things I've been thinking about, like reaching out to people. I also like get so skeptical, reaching out to people that I know that okay, maybe I'm available for like maybe a job or something. Like, makes you, there's this feeling I get from that. It makes you think like I don't want to. I don't know if it feels like I'll push it, the boundaries of like, our friendship and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
So maybe there's a So maybe there's a nuance to that you like to share, or maybe I just need a change of mind.
I'm currently rebuilding my website, but because my current website doesn't really show any of my Rive expertise, I've created my own portfolio pitch deck that can be used with like Google Slides, however you want to make this. That's more useful when I'm out like doing outreach. I send a link to my pitch deck like to show who I am and what I do. So in that you could tailor it depending on who you're sending it to and what they're going to be most interested in. So if you've got like lots of UI animation, like lots of scripting animation, make sure you're sending that stuff to a studio, agency, other freelancer that with the work that focuses on that, and then tailor another one. Like if you still enjoy doing the animated side, like using keyframes, characters, etc., show those to like the particular company that does that kind of work.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
Yeah, I'm very good. Thank you for asking. Oh, and also thanks for joining us today, by the way.
No worries. Excited to chat all things Rive.
Yeah, I don't know. It was when I found out, about you, you know, was it Joey that actually mentioned you, right? And I decided to actually check you up, and then I saw you first. It was this a really cool picture of you with I can't remember which pets you had with you, like on your LinkedIn. It was really like an adorable picture, and uh, and then you had that line of like this your bio literally says worked with Google and stuff like that. I was really intrigued. I was really impressed, and thank God that he actually mentioned you, because otherwise like I wouldn't have known. Like I don't know if like I don't know about like your social presence is not all that much, and even up to now I sent you like a request, but I don't know, you probably didn't get to check it or something, because you reacted to one of my posts but you're not um um probably you didn't even like maybe check the people that are trying to maybe um send requests to you and stuff like that. So how are you doing? How's it been? How's everything been?
Yeah, good. Like it's been a weird year. I've been incredibly busy, which is why I've struggled to keep up with like social, like all of the different social channels. Because normally I try to keep up with it quite a lot, but I've been on a big project which has been really good and really fun, but it's taken a lot of time away from anything else, which has meant it's been a struggle to like reach out, network, and contact other people, get to know other people. So yeah, it's definitely, I feel like social media is one of those things that when you stop using it, there might be like new connections, like with you, that are harder to find because it's like it's one of those things that you're only found if you're constantly using it. Like unless someone
Mm,
like Joey actually, I feel like
nice.
I've got a really good network, luckily, of people I know that are always happy to put me forward for things, which helps. But yeah, it can be a struggle to keep on top of it sometimes.
Yeah, like which is what I wanted to ask you about because given the fact that you're, I don't know, based on like even like I when I checked your LinkedIn, I saw your profile, you have like very few connections, like about like 400. So and you know this like great lineup of like, companies that you had worked with. And so I was really like, okay, how does this work? Because typically like what I know is that, people who get to like work at like big companies and stuff like
Mhm,
that. I honestly like I don't know because I don't know a lot of people.
mhm,
Um, but then I would suppose that they maybe post their works online a lot,
mhm,
or maybe they I mean probably like reaching out to a lot of people like via social media and stuff like that.
mhm,
But for you, like I don't think it's that way. So do you care to like talk about
mhm.
that?
Yeah, I think that's like a really good. I think it's a really good point to make because I feel like there's two realms of um this industry on how you can gain work and connections. And one of them is just being um what's the word, obviously just posting a lot on social media so people find out about you. And that has worked for me, but like mainly more through Instagram than LinkedIn. um I've started to use LinkedIn a little bit more the last year and a half, and I have found it useful, particularly because Instagram's algorithm doesn't work the same as it used to do. Um, but then another part of it that I find that has been incredibly impactful for me and finding work is the connections that you make, not just through social media. Like, given the people that I know now, it has all been through connections. Like back before it, back when Twitter was Twitter, there was group chats that I had joined that are now like Discord chats that I'm now part of, and these sort of online communities where you kind of make friends, and then from those friendships people are happy to kind of, if they're really busy, they kind of put your name forward for job inquiries that they get. um like that's never my intention, was to gain work through that. Like my biggest part was to just make connections, make friends within the community. But another bonus of that is they then people will trust you and they see your work, and then they're happy to sort of recommend you to potential clients and potential jobs. um I obviously with Joey, I've only managed to work with him once so far this year, but hopefully I'll get to work with him again with Rad Studio. I met him because we were both Rive ambassadors, and I kind of just sent him a private message letting him know, because I've not always been full-time freelance either. I'd always done a lot of full-time work with freelance on the side. And I updated him really fairly recently that I was stepping into working for myself. I'm leaving a full-time job, and um, he kept me in mind that, if another job is to come up that he needs help, he reached out and I got to work with him. So I think a lot of it for me is like that personal outreach and not always relying on your work, sharing your work, even though that's really important. And that also helps people to remember who you are, but then also personal connections and messaging or emailing those people privately just to let them know that you exist. That's also incredibly helpful for me.
Yeah, I mean, thank you so much for actually mentioning that, because I thought about it, because and it's part of like the things I've been thinking about, like reaching out to people. Like thanks for mentioning that, because I also like get so skeptical, reaching out to people that I know that okay, maybe I'm available for like maybe a job or something, because makes you there's this feeling I get from that. It makes you look like I don't want to. I don't know. It feels like I'm pushing, the boundaries of like, our friendship and stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
so maybe there's a no, yeah. So maybe there's a nuance to that that you like to share,
Hmm.
or yeah, because yeah, maybe there's a nuance to that, or maybe I just need a change of mind.
Yeah,
Was there like a specific
I think that's a really good point. Like I still like struggle as well with the feeling like I'm confident enough to like reach out, because I know like I understand that feeling where either it's like imposter syndrome where you feel like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough, why am I reaching out to these people? Maybe it's just like I don't want to feel like I'm only interested in connecting with them for work. I think a lot of it is like finding the balance of, again, I use social media to make continue those connections. Like I might comment on posts by these studios, by these people. So it's not all about wanting to connect with them to work with them, but that kind of builds that like relationship up before you actually reach out. So they might know you because you've commented on their work, the studio's work, even the freelancer. um then that kind of leads to them looking at your work, and then they kind of know who you are, they've got that at the back of your mind, and then kind of building those connections up. So sometimes it is, I will reach out to studios. With studios is a little bit easier because it's not like one person. Like with Joey, I know he runs a studio, so he probably will want a collection of freelancers that he would want to expand for certain projects. That's just how studios need to, they work that way. So it's a little bit easier to reach out to directors at studios and just let them know that you're available and this is what you do and send your portfolio over. um, it can just be like a friendly email saying, hi, really love the work that you guys are doing. I just want to let you know I've got some upcoming availability for any kind of projects. These are my special, my skills. And then hopefully they'll come back to you. They might not have a job right now, but hopefully they'll say, really happy about the connection, and they'll keep you in mind for something else. So yeah, I think it's a fine balance. And then I guess with freelancers, I don't necessarily like, I make connections with other freelancers just because it's really nice to see what other people are working on. And then those eventually become friendships. You might end up collaborating with them on projects, like might be personal projects that you collaborate on. And then those people start to understand what your skill set are. And then from that, they kind of put you forward. I do the same. Like if I'm busy and I get an email inquiry that I can't take that job on, I will recommend other people that I know to these jobs. One, it's great for the people that I know. And two, it's actually really useful for the studios and agencies and other freelancers, because then they don't have to go searching for other people. Like a lot of studios want to know who's available right now, who's potentially interested right now, and it just makes their life a lot easier because they've got loads of things going on.
yes? So like, thanks for explaining like the nuance there. Now, of course, like I have a question based on like what I sort of understood like from your background and from what you also mentioned too. But then I just wouldn't want to let the opportunity for this question to slide, which
Mhm.
is that okay, so basically how you think about it is okay, if you refer your friends, Also, it's great for your friends. It's also great, for the studio as well, which is like a very, like, I like the mindset, like, I believe like it should be like, like maybe that's like the standard or something. But do you ever, get to a point where you think about like maybe maybe like, sort of like doing your own studio thing, like maybe like, just um just like you get the job, then you like, have to like, outsource it to someone. Does that ever like, or what was the because sometimes you might, maybe from a financial standpoint, um I don't know, like I'm just trying like to understand um maybe like your thought process, about these things. And sorry, I think I use a lot of filler words. So
Don't worry.
uh it's part of the things I've been working on lately. So
Mhm.
and I still have a long way to go.
No,
uh,
no,
uh
fine.
so so I wanted to like, so does that ever cross your mind? Do you ever get tempted to like, okay, I'm just going to take this job and then I'm going to outsource it to someone. I'm just going to help these people, manage it. And if that
Mm,
has ever crossed your mind, like what if that has ever crossed your mind, then what what has been the reasons, why you decided to just expose them to your friends instead, because there's also
mhm,
like a way you can think about it like selfishly too, that okay,
mhm,
now they know your friend, right? And let's say for instance your friend does maybe like a really good work or something, which is good, right? They might not remember you for the next project, they might
sure.
just call your friend. All right, so how do you sort of navigate that, because we're all humans, right? And you sometimes maybe like, have those, I don't know if you have those thoughts, but probably I would have those thoughts. Right. So how do you think about it, and how do
Mhm,
you like
sure.
how do
No,
you
I think that's definitely, I can understand that being a worry for people. Um, I think within the network that I have, I'm usually quite confident. I mean, even if they do an amazing project, like amazing, and it's always going to be great if that client wants to go back to them. Like that would never really, I don't think that would bother me so much in a way, mainly because I know that at least it's given someone else an opportunity. And if I see it, it's usually because I can't take that job on at the time. I'm just super busy on a project. Sometimes I've not had it come up yet, but if there was a job to come in that it's quite a, I don't know, what I would call a large project where um I don't know, say like it's a minute long animation. This tends to be more outside of Rive. So say it's like a animation within After Effects that's just like an MP4 video. Like sometimes you might get like a job that's like you need to storyboard it, you need to design it, you need to animate it, you need to find like sound design. Um, and I have had jobs like that. Um, and there has been there's like potential where if the budget was good, I would look to expand like who I'd get involved in. If it was a small budget, it would just have to be one of those things I have to take on all of those roles myself and do it. But if the budget that the client had was good enough to actually build a team, that's like the perfect scenario that you can bring people in, work with them, collaborate with them on these jobs. But yeah, like on the other hand, I always like to think what goes, like I think the word is, or the saying is, what goes around comes around. That if you're helping other people, it will come back to you. Like whether that's like true or not, but I just feel that is the case. Like if you help other people want to help you. And there might be a very minor amount of people, but I feel like in the motion design community, everyone wants to help everyone else and everyone wants to help everyone learn and understand. So I don't tend to worry about like, if I recommend someone else to a client and they don't come back, It's fine. There'll be other inquiries. So yeah, it can be a fear, especially when you're starting out. Obviously I've been doing motion design for 14 years now, but I think when you start up, it can feel a bit scary to lose work and hand it over to someone else. But it's never been bad for me to do that. Like, it's always come back to me. If I help other people want to help you.
Yeah, very good point. Like I see, your mindset, you know, in in there, and it's actually like a very good mindset. Um, I don't know. I would probably, it's just one of those things.
Mhm.
So now let's because there's something else I would also like to mention, because personally for me, and I don't know where this fits in into, like, this chat and stuff like that. Like, I used to like have like a mindset too, like, where I just like trust, and believe, like, just believe, good things will just happen and stuff like that. But I think I'm at a stage in my life where I just take, like, precautions, and just I don't know. And I think I think when it comes to that, like, I think when it comes to maybe the sense of community, I think having that mindset would be bad, and probably maybe I need to work on my mind, and sort of like be open, and be at the space where you currently are. All right, so thanks for mentioning that. All right, so so uh yes, so we did speak about how you. There was one question that I wanted to really ask.
Mhm.
That has been on my mind even before all the questions that I asked, which is, and it's somewhat related to the first question I asked, which is, I don't see so much of that social media presence, and yet you have, like, a client list from what I mean, from big companies, that everybody would dream of working with. How did that come about? Is it that there is some type of work that you need to do, like,
Mhm.
to get through to those type of clients,
Mhm.
or that maybe you just like do like in-person meetings, where you go out, and stuff like that. It's not necessarily like all this, like, social media stuff. Like, how does it work? Okay, because also you mentioned the fact that you are just like you just recently begun freelance at
Mhm.
time where Joey got in touch with you. That means you were basically working like 9 to 5 and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So how do you, how were you, like, because how does it, like, how do you get into big companies? How do you get into, like, let's say, I want to work for Google now, like, how do you always, like, your own roadmap, and how did that sort of, like, pan out for you?
Um,
And so, in case you're wondering where you can learn Rive, we have a free Telegram channel. The link is going to be in the description of this video. So, if you're interested in that, check the description of this video, and you're going to have that. We also have a Rive animation bootcamp that's currently going on. You can still sign up. There is going to be the link as well in the description. So, let's get back to the video.
I think one of the biggest things I find that people might have in their head is, to get work with these big companies, you need to have worked with big companies to get the work. Like, and it's like, well, it can't be the case, because no one would actually be able to get in there. Like, no one will be able to start working with them. What I find really important is, I've, like, for my first 10 years of being an emotion designer, I worked at a film production company, like video production company, and 90% of the work they did was live action video, and about 10%, 20% of the work was animation and motion design. So I was the only animator and motion designer. And for those 10 years, I worked on a variety of projects. Like, there are a lot of projects that won't ever put in my portfolio because I don't feel like they show my full capabilities. And then there's other projects that I've worked for charities where I had a bit more freedom in terms of the design and animation direction. And they weren't for amazing companies. Like, they're not like these well-known big B corporations. There were small, maybe even local businesses to where I live. But because I was able to put like my full skill set in, that helped show what I was capable of in terms of like character animation, timing, all of those sorts of things. They weren't, a lot of the companies, even like the big top agencies, aren't looking they're not in your portfolio. They're not looking for the big companies you worked for. They are looking at the work you produce and how much quality is in that. Like if it is character animation, they're going to be watching those characters that you've animated and potentially designed. Like, that's the biggest part I've found, is you don't need to have a big company brand list in your portfolio to get that work. What the bit that is important is trying to work with those agencies that work with those big B corps to know you exist. That's the hard part, is trying to get yourself in front of them, and so they can see the work you do. And again, that kind of goes back to email, like, just, they call it cold emailing, being able to cold email certain studios and agencies, just so that hopefully they'll read the email and keep you in mind for a project. And in other instances, some of the work that I've got has just been, again, my friends that I know have said, got this job that I can't take on, who's interested? And they'll pass people's emails over. So it's a mix of, yeah, the network and the community that you build around you. And also, don't be scared to just reach out to the companies that are making the work that you want to do. I think that's the big thing. Hence why I wanted to reach out to Joey, because I was like, oh, that rad studio, they're making really cool projects. They're focusing on Rive. I'm really enjoying Rive. I want to make sure that Joey knows I'm here and I'm available. So that's like, I feel like that's like a big thing, is making sure what you're putting out there. So you might have client work that's not like the work that you feel is like your strongest, and then that's where personal projects come in. So I did 2 personal projects last year that got me paid client work. So like, that proves clients and jobs and agencies aren't looking for whether you've even done a client project before. They're looking for the actual outcome you've created. So one of them is I created like a false brand of a mobile dog grooming company, because I wanted to explore and show how my illustration and designs can be applied to branding, and that I can do this. I'm not just an illustrator. I can create illustrations that can bring a brand together. And I hadn't done that work yet. So I created a pretend brand, and I created branded illustrations for this brand that doesn't exist, and I shared it on social media, and then companies saw it, and I got my first paid project to help a rebrand for a company that wanted lots of illustrative assets for it. So it's just, I think the biggest thing is just being proactive, that if you don't feel like you've got the work that really shows how good of an animator or motion designer you are, then make a project that does show it. Like, that's the key, I think, is, yeah, you don't even have to have done a paid client project to get a paid client project.
That's really like, I like the way you put it, which is the fact that, I'm just going to be like the keyest thing. Well, why even custom the video? It will be the fact that you don't need maybe paid client work in order to get paid client work. And that's actually interesting that you brought that up, that you said that. Uh, so you mentioned something which is like a tiny detail when you were talking, which is actually about like agencies and stuff like that. There's a little question I have to ask, and that question is actually from my personal experience. So, because I've never been to the US or the UK or stuff like that. Most of my life, like I've been in Nigeria and stuff like that. And of course, personally for me, like I'd love to work with um, you know, big companies, outside of Nigeria. Like I don't want to have to leave Nigeria. Like I don't want to have to leave, Africa to do like whatever good stuff or great stuff. But then you mentioned something like, agencies that have agencies. Now, after because this is like very selfish of it. You really want to talk about like, all this like stuff. We'll get into like the right stuff. I really have some, questions that I really like to ask you in that regard. But I need to clear this up. So, what like so you mentioned agencies, getting in front of agencies, that's how does it work? And I wanted to even understand your statement. Um is it that like so basically is it that agencies sometimes have other agencies working for them, right? And those agencies, or maybe they're now smaller agencies now, can then hire you, or it's that or is what you were mentioning was that if you were able to work for an agency that worked for a bigger agency that works for maybe Google, right? um then maybe Google might take note of you. Is that what you were trying to say?
Yeah, I think I've never, like, in terms of Google and obviously the Google Pay, like, Lottie animations that I got to create, that was with a studio, and a lot of my friends have also worked on certain Google projects. And what I do find is, like, these big corporations like Google, Apple, like Microsoft, they don't just work with one agency. Like, they work with different ones all the time. So, and you can see it through different portfolios. Like, if you're looking at like Buck, for instance, they do amazing work. And they've probably worked for Google. And then you look at someone like Hornet, and they've worked for Google. So I don't know what goes on, like, above the studios and agencies and how they get those jobs. I think a lot of it is like they pitch to win these jobs, hence why a lot of them end up also working with the same big corporations and doing different projects. So that's kind of nice for us freelancers. It means it's like, well, we don't need to rely on just one studio or agency to work with these big corporations, like someone like Google. Like, there's a lot of other agencies as well that also work with those tech companies, for instance. So I think for me, one of the fun things is that it's also great for you to finally get like a project that's like for a big tech, like, for instance, Google, Apple, Microsoft. But what I actually really enjoy the most is working with the studios and agencies that do those projects. And they don't necessarily, or they're not always for these big tech companies. They're for slightly smaller brands. But what I enjoy about working with them is working with all different people, learning all these different things that I didn't know before, like how they might run a project, how if I'm working with someone else on a Rive project, understanding how they do something and that's different to how you did something, and it might work better. Same within After Effects. So I think there's for me, it's not always about wanting to work. It's not like the final brand who I've worked for. It's about being able to work with the particular studio for me, because there's so much talent in those companies and you just learn so much. And I think that feels really exciting when you get to work with companies like that.
Yeah, and that really clarified a lot of things for me because so basically you shift your goals from working directly because I was wondering because if you because I didn't know I just wanted to get it right. So for me it's just basically um targeting studios that I like to work with and so I could actually meet amazing people, not necessarily trying to oh yeah I have to work with
Mm-hmm,
these big tech brands and stuff like that. And that's really really interesting and very informative actually.
mm-hmm,
I do have a question. I have maybe some 2 or 3 other questions.
mm-hmm,
That's fine. Then I'll ask people if they have their own questions as well. Then we will call it a wrap. I don't know. I think it's just 2 questions I have, which is how did you find Rive?
mm-hmm,
And which is what sort of interests you about it, and what sort of made you feel okay, yeah, I'm going to really do a lot of things, with
mm-hmm,
Rive as it stands. And what do you think, a competitive, advantage you think Rive animators have?
mm-hmm,
Because ideally, I think you're a motion designer, and something must have actually prompted you and something must have kept you
mm-hmm,
you know, using Rive. There has to be something that okay, there's this maybe superpower that Rive has. There's
mm-hmm.
something might even be related to even finances. Stuff like that. What uh, you
Yeah,
know.
no, that's a good question. Um, so I obviously been animating, motion designing, illustrating since 2013. Like that, I went to university and I studied animation, um, and then got a job at that video production company quite quickly after I finished university. Um, about 8 months, I think, which I feel like is quite quick. And I feel like part of it is luck. Like sometimes it's just luck, being in the right place at the right time. Um, and other times it's a balance of luck and you've got the right portfolio as well. Like it's not, I think one of the big caveats I think a lot of people forget is there's a lot of luck involved too. Like, yeah, you can make all these connections, but sometimes it is just right place, right time. But those connections help create more right place, right time opportunities. I think that's the big thing is the more people you know, the more luck that kind of can accumulate from that. Um, but yeah, I guess for the first 10 years of my career, um, I hadn't touched any sort of motion for digital products like apps or web whatsoever. I had a little bit of Lottie experience. I'd done a couple of Lottie projects. Um, but the first 10 years I was working in like video production, but the animation side, creating explainer animations for loads of different clients. So I've got a lot in my portfolio that was like just explainer animations, explaining all sorts of different types of things that clients needed, businesses needed. And then there was a point where I started to feel, I think, a bit burnt out with what I was making. And I think it was about 3 or 4 years ago, I heard about Rive. And I was like, it sounds kind of interesting. I want to explore what this tool is. I'd obviously done a few Lottie projects since once I learned about Rive. And it was just like more of a curious interest first. I made a couple, like, I just did a couple of personal projects with it to learn and understand it. And then I really enjoyed what you could do with it. And I was like, feel like this could spark my energy back into motion design again, because I was just getting a little bit burnt out creating these like 2-minute animations. Some of the budgets were just, they were getting smaller and smaller. And I just wanted to try something new. And Rive, I think one of the biggest things I noticed about Rive is it didn't feel like a scary jump to go from After Effects into Rive. There were a lot of similarities, like particularly the way that you animate, obviously just keyframes and interpolation and graphs. The biggest learning curve for me was obviously learning the state machine, how that all works, how that integrates with the timelines. And even now, 4 years on, there's still so much I need to learn about Rive. Like, I think it's the same. I think there'll always be something new to learn with it. Because what I love about the Rive team is they're making new things constantly, but it's becoming such a big piece of software that it's hard to know everything about it. It's the same with After Effects. Like, I'd used that for 10 years and there's still parts of it I don't probably have never used and I don't know how to use. I think that's like always having that at the back of your mind, is understanding there's always learning. Like, that is what we do, is that we're always progressing, we're always learning. And I love that. And I was just excited to learn something new. And it was something that I kind of understood and I really enjoyed it. And I saw a job advert. One of my friends had been freelancing for this company that were making a virtual pet app. And they actually wanted to hire someone full time. And he wasn't really looking to go full time. So he let our community know that they were looking for a full time illustrator and animator. So I applied, interviewed, and at the time they weren't looking to use Rive. They were only using Lottie animations. But part of it, I came in, and once I got the job, I was like, I think we should transition over to Rive, because it's a character. They want lots of customization. They want different clothes and different accessories for this character. And I was like, making that with Lottie, that it's not going to work great. I was like, Rive is perfect for this. So we transitioned over to Rive. And that was the job that I really fully like started to dive into Rive. Like, I was using it nearly every day. So I did that for like a year and just under 2 years. Then unfortunately they decided to shut the app down. And then that's where I then had to jump into just completely self-employed freelance at the start of this year. So yeah, it was a transition that I didn't know that was happening at the time. And then I just started using Rive more because of this job. And I just really enjoyed it. Like, I've not shut the door to After Effects, that it has its uses for certain projects. But I have found, particularly the last year, the inquiries that I'm getting for work tend to be a lot of Rive inquiries more than just general motion design using After Effects. So yeah, I think that's like, hopefully that kind of answers the question of how and why I moved into that realm. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Actually, it does, and it's quite maybe not as similar to Joey's story as well. Okay, Abib has a question. You can go for it. Hello, Abib.
Hi, hi, Emily. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Right. All right, that's great. So, first off, thank you very much for like coming on the Fireside chat. Like, it's quite a privilege to like be here alongside you. So, I've been like a quite fan of you like for
Thank
a
you.
while now because I'm just like I'm personally I'm just like getting into like Rive again. So, and yeah, like listening to like what prompted you like come into like Rive.
Hmm.
It's quite similar to like me as well in terms of like, oh, the finances in terms of like the finances around like motion design keeps getting smaller, keeps getting like reduced. And I think it's probably because of like more people being interested in like animation. So there is more pool, more talent pool for this. So it's sort of like draining the the revenue, right, that is allocated to like motion design. So yeah, that's so beautiful. But the question I'm going to like have is now another issue we are currently having is the fact that we have like the emergence of AIs,
Hmm.
right, that is coming around, and right now it's basically like affecting like many industries right around. So the question is around, okay, the design industry sort of like you see some animation, you see like a Fabric 5 model like doing some awesome like designs, right? And maybe it is coming from motion design as well, but can you is it still sort of like feasible like for a total beginner to like start coming into right to learn it as well? Or do you think like the AI might sort of like just win the race, right? At the moment. So, and again, majority of basically what's drove us out of like or what's wanted us to like learn right is also sort of like to increase the finances, right?
Hmm.
So like what's like your projection around like the right job market? Is it something that it's quite is it quite be afar, especially if you are going to like be starting into you're just starting inside it as like as a newbie.
Hmm. Yeah, I think he makes some really good points. Like AI in particular, I think there's definitely a part that AI probably is playing. It like I think it's not just AI and why like budgets have like shrunk, particularly like in just general motion design. Um, I think it what so one of the things that I'd been discussing with my friends, and I think it happened before AI became more of a prominent feature, was a lot of companies start, particularly with social content. There was like a period where motion design was used a lot for advertising within social media. And then user generated content became more popular because it was cheaper. So I found what I saw and what a lot of my other people in my network had seen is that there was less motion design work that was used to advertise certain products or certain things because these companies were moving over to using just user generated content. um, and that kind of also played with like trends like the way Gen Z interacts with social media compared to other generations. They like to see less flashy content, which is why they wanted to use people that were just filming themselves with their mobile phones. But that was cheaper to make also. So hey, like the company's like, this is great, costs less. But I think there's like within the creative industry and the way that it's affected by um companies and how they want to market themselves. I feel it always like kind of like circulates and changes, and it kind of comes back around, perhaps in different ways. And I think we'll probably also see that with the rise of how AI is being used. Maybe it might become better at creating more unique visuals, but you need, even if that was the case, you always need the creative thinkers to be able to direct that, rather than like, so let's say you need like an art director to still make the work look unique, because AI on its own can't create without a human telling it what to do. I don't like the idea of having that as a job personally. I like creating visuals, I like designing, but as I see it and how it is currently, there's like lots of companies that just have AI generated posters, and I'm now seeing people are getting bored of seeing these AI generated posters because they all look the same. Everything looks the same. If anything, it was better to just use like Canva templates, because at least they looked different. Like, but now this is like, they just, if you look at, they're just all so similar. And I think people are going to start rejecting it because it just all looks the same. You can't differentiate who actually values what they're even selling, because you're selling a product, but you're advertising it like with something that doesn't even show that you care about. Like, to me, it just doesn't feel like you care about what you're doing, because it's just been cheaply put together. And it doesn't mean that these, you know, small businesses have to go and hire a graphic designer, but to me, it would be so much more interesting if they just made the poster themselves. It doesn't even have to be fantastic, but I'd be way more interested in what they're doing if they just made it themselves than used AI to generate something that looks like all of the other posters that are out there. Like, it just doesn't draw me in at all. And I can see this becoming a thing, not just like, I think there's definitely an aspect of it. I've seen stats where people are rejecting companies that use AI now. Like, they don't want to buy from companies that are using AI to, you know, advertise their products. So I feel like it could come full circle that companies are just using it because they feel like they have to, because it's the trend, but people will get bored of seeing it because it all starts looking the same, because AI just looks, there's going to be so much AI on the internet that it's only learning off what it's produced, and so nothing new appears. So I don't, it's slightly worrying, but I'm optimistic that it will come full circle and people will want variety again. People will want to see things that are created by people, like by humans. People are involved. It's just way more interesting. There's story, there's emotion that have been put into this work. Hopefully that covers your question. Just let me know if there was anything else in particular.
Yes, thank you, Millie. It's quite like cover like the question. And I think I sort of like agree with you. Like, it's not dead to actually like learn or start like a new thing, because at the end of the day, even if they're going to use AI, it's a trend, right? And just like every new trend, like it gets like its traction, then at the end of the day, it either loses it, especially if it never gets better, or it actually, because at the point in time, I think the AI might eventually like get even way expensive, right? So
Yeah.
because of this thing. So at the end of the day, you want to like go back to the human form. I mean, it's just like an evolution, right? You have like the evolution of the evolution from the evolution of various design age, right? At a point in time, we were so interested in a particular style, maybe like the brutalist style, or then it evolved to the neo brutalist, the minimalist. So it's just like a basic evolution that just like needs time. So it's quite important that anybody that is starting out doesn't feel like worried, like where is the job, or where the job going to come from, or basically where um yeah, basically like where the job is going to come from. So I think I quite agree with you on that. Thank you very much. Fini.
It was a really good question. Like, as you said, I think it will become more expensive. I've seen articles saying that the AI companies aren't making money, so they're going to have to increase the cost of how much it is. So there's that fact, that's to factor in. And again, I think you also I think there was like whether it's worth people learning Rive and learning this as a new skill. Yes, like, you know, even if AI does take over, I think it's just always worth learning and you know, trying new skills, because it should pay off eventually, and it's good for the brain. Like, it's just good for you to just not shut down and just keep using AI to learn everything. And we're just all our brains are just gonna melt away because we're not learning anything new. I think it's so important to learn new skills and try new things. Like, we're humans, that's what we do. Like, that's why we're here, that's why we've got to where we are. Like, there's uses, 100%. There's amazing uses for AI. Like, it's incredible in the medical field and such. It's just, we're just in such a strange place with it right now. I'm optimistic. I'm definitely optimistic that we're going to be okay.
Yeah, sure. Like, I share in your optimism as well. Okay, Anna, you have a question. Let's go for that.
Yeah, hello, it's me. Hi, I'm Anna. I know there's like 5 minutes left, so I'm trying to speed through this real quick. I love everything you mentioned about Rive. I'm in love with the tool and what you said earlier about it just being this well of inspiration and learning because of all the little tools and gadgets it has. I'm right there with you. I'm in love with it. I had two questions. So the first one actually has a bit to do with the whole AI subject, because regarding Rive's built-in AI scripting, that's something that I've personally been using a lot as someone who does eventually want to learn how to like actually do full-fledged code someday. For me, it's been a wonderful bridge to try to get even more complex kinds of interactions in my Rive files. So I was wondering if you had any personal experience with the AI scripting, and if it's maybe improved or worsened your work in some way, just in your own personal experiences with it. And the second question I had was, I was wondering if you have actually run into any use cases with Rive where the interactivity was not the point of it. So I'll speak from my own personal experience. I've found that it's actually a lot easier to just do frame-by-frame vector animation in Rive than to do it in After Effects. That's something I've personally noticed. And I've even created a few GIFs and animations with that in mind. I just found that Rive was naturally better at that than other tools I've used, like After Effects. So I was personally wondering if you've come across any use cases with Rive where, or yeah, maybe it's not even something interactive at all. It's just really good at one particular thing that you probably didn't realize it was.
Okay, yeah, two really good questions. So I think, yeah, on the topic again of the AI, it has its use cases. The bit that I'm not fond of is just like where you're using it to just generate something entirely, like whether it's an illustration or an animation. Like there's just something about them. There's just something that feels off about them. But it does have really good use cases. Like, again, with the script, like being able to just use it to create scripts. This is where it is useful as a tool. I know nothing about coding. I don't know when I will have the time to learn it. It's incredible. And it's the same thing like with After Effects. I know friends that are using it to be able to generate scripts quickly that they want to use and have within After Effects. I feel like this is where it helps our workflow as creatives. It's like making the tools better. It's not like using it to make the final outcome. It's making the process of creating the final outcome easier, better, quicker. Like, for me, the design of something is what I enjoy. And I think a lot of people who are in motion design are the same thing, whether it's the actual designing the motion or illustrating or designing the statics. Like that's the bit we don't want taken away, because that's what we enjoy about the process. It's just there's other great features of how AI can be used in our process. Yeah, I think that's like a really good use case. There's definitely, like, being someone that doesn't understand code, I can sometimes get a bit confused, like when I've used the AI agent to be like, create a script that does this. And because I don't understand what it's done, even though it's possibly made something that works, I don't know what it's done to make that work, which also makes me feel a bit uneasy about using it, because I'm like, well, if I hand this over to a dev and there is a bug, I don't know what this bug is, and I don't know why the bug's there, because I can't look through it. And you can use the AI agent to go through it and potentially fix it. It's just like, how good is it at doing that as well? I think it will get better. So yeah, that's like some of the use cases that I get nervous about, is like, if I've used a script that's been created with AI, how bulletproof is it? Like, if I'm shipping this off and giving it over to devs, are they going to be happy? Because I have had use cases where I've used a script and there's something that isn't quite right about that script, and having to like figure out, like, why is it causing crashes in the app? So sometimes we just have to take the whole script out. Other instance, so the other question, sorry, my mind has gone blank. Just remind me of your other question.
Yeah, that was great. And thanks a lot for, again, all those wonderful insights into AI. I totally agree. My second question was about whether you found any use cases in Rive that don't have anything to do with interactivity. They're just things you found out Rive was really, really good at doing.
That's a really good question. I haven't actually haven't come across any use cases for myself yet. I think that is a really good question, though. I think particularly with like where my brain is, that like I have a lot of personal projects that I want to do that are interactive, but I also have a couple of personal projects that I eventually want to like finish, but they're kind of short film. So like a short film, I probably wouldn't use Rive for. Like, it's going to be so much easier for me to use After Effects. I want to learn Moho. That's definitely something, particularly with character animation, I really want to like delve into. But yeah, I haven't come across any use cases. I mean, the only thing I could think of is like just creating it would still be a web format animation, but perhaps there aren't any interactivity. So similarly, like if it's more like, instead of doing a Lottie animation, maybe do it in Rive. But yeah, for myself, I haven't done that yet, but completely open to it. It's just like I haven't had the idea of what I would use it for.
Well, just to speak up for Rive here. Anyway, so there are some like interesting things that are very, very easy to do with Rive, that it's something very easy to do with After Effects.
Mhm.
One of the most underrated things is rigging in Rive. Rigging in Rive is extremely smooth. Like, I mean, you talk about how you set like the target bones and stuff like that. If you want to like make you want to make a character animation, the rigging, if you compare it to like how your PC lags when you're using like you compare them, Rive is actually like very smooth when it comes to rigging, and it's definitely one of those things. In fact, for the fact you mentioned you want to learn more, right? I've done like a lot of character rigging in Mo, maybe not a lot, but quite some, and I figured that there's a lot of similarity between how you like rigging in Rive
Mhm.
with Mo. Just that Mo has some advantages because you can use smart bones, and that's like really like it's really going to help you, like, for instance, now you want to move a particular bone and there's a deformation, you can already make a smart bone that takes care of that. And I think that's also one thing that Rive team should actually look to. There's I think there's probably a way to sort of like try to do that using state machines. I've really not try to explore it,
Mm.
because we can create custom timelines. It's sort of similar to the way Mo actually does it as well, because it's just like the entire smart bone is just like, another separate timeline. um and it's just, I've just not thought about it, but it should be doable with Rive. But aside from that, like, honestly, when it comes to rigging, like, I give it um Rive in that regard. It's really, really, really a good rigging tool.
Yeah, like feature is amazing. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. Yeah. So another thing, which is a shameless plug. I don't know if it's like a shameless plug about scripting. I actually have, like, tutorials coming up, because I've been experimenting a lot with scripting, and
Mhm.
you guys should actually look out to it. Like, like with the way it's going, I might as well even, like, have a book, because trying to, like, document everything, how to approach, like, as a video that is actually going to come up, like maybe by weekend, God willing. It's going to be like the best introduction you've had to scripting. It's going to, like, really break everything down. So yeah.
That sounds really good. Amazing. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
there's definitely so many pros within Rive, and I'm also really excited about like the other features that they're bringing in. I haven't been able to like play around with the new shaders and such, but like that's gonna raise the bar again on what you can create. There's like one of the things that I do miss when working in Rive, and what I miss from After Effects, is just being able to apply an effect to everything. That in itself is like, it just saves so much time in certain aspects. Like you can animate like certain shapes in a certain way, and then being able to add an effect over the top in After Effects, just amazing. And I feel like this is where hopefully shaders are going to take us in Rive, is hopefully give us that kind of same, probably not exactly the same, but hopefully a similar feeling of being able to use shaders to apply certain effects to create different looks to the animations, rather than having to like create certain layers and all of those sorts of things. Because there's certain effects like that you just can't replicate in Rive yet, but the way that the Rive team are going, it feels like it might get there, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, thanks so much for that. And I also feel like, because of the way, Rive is currently, it opens up a lot of opportunities for a lot of people. Like, because of like Rive's trajectory, like, there's so much gap for people to be able to fit into,
Mhm.
right? A lot of, like, for instance, now I can get to, like, record a video on scripting. Why? Because there's not so much in the official Rive documentation to talk
Yeah.
about it. And like, I can get to I recently found out that I could contribute, um on the official documentation,
Mhm.
right? And stuff like that. It just like creates more work for people, and for us to, like, use our to become relevant in a way, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. I do have a last question, and I think that would be it. So you mentioned, except maybe if someone else asks another question, right? So you mentioned that, going forward, I don't know, like, for you, like, what are, like, the next adventures for you in Rive? What's the next adventure for you in Rive? Like, where do you what's next for you, after you, let's say, for instance, you're done with your client project and stuff like that? Or is it that you want to take a break from interactive animation, then you want to delve into, like, your you mentioned, probably a short film or stuff like that?
Mm.
Because I get tempted too. Like, I go to maybe frame rate, or I go to I just randomly scroll on social media, and I
Mhm.
see maybe it's like a cool like animation. I'm like, oh my god, like I just want to animate. Like I just want to maybe like when I'm done with all this stuff, like I just want to have like a period where the only thing I'm doing is just like
Mhm.
animate, but like all in different seasons and stuff like that. So we just have to do what we have to do. So,
Yeah.
but I really need to
Yeah.
yeah, from you.
I think I definitely want to keep working on Rive projects. Like I like the variety that Rive is bringing in terms of projects. I've had a lot of character Rive projects, and I definitely also want to try and explore other areas of using Rive, whether that's just like for UI. I'm currently I can't say the project that I'm on because it's NDA, um, but I will get to talk about it at the end of the year, and I'm excited to sort of talk about it and see what happens. It might bring more other interesting projects in. Um, but like I definitely feel like I need 2 weeks once the project I'm on just to like a break and just have a nice break where I don't animate at all. Because I'm struggling to think of like I used to really enjoy making personal illustrations, but I've noticed I can't even have the energy to do that right now. So I definitely feel like I just need to like take 2 week holiday at the end, and not think about it, and hopefully like my creative excitement will come back. But yeah, I think for me, I want to see I want to keep working in Rive. I'm not like shutting the door on After Effects. I'm not shutting the door on like Moho. They have their uses for different projects. Like, and I don't want to not do those projects either. But I'm really enjoying the kind of projects that I'm getting to do with Rive, and the type of companies you get to work with. And I feel like the more that it's spoken about, particularly like it really helps when companies like Duolingo are really clear about them using Rive, because then other companies are like, what is this? We want to use it. And then I feel like that pool of companies that know about it is growing, and hopefully engineers and developers are starting to like understand it. And I feel like there could hopefully be more Rive projects like that will I feel like that pool is going to grow, hopefully. And I'm excited to see where it goes. So, but yeah, I do want to do
And
more projects too.
so that's actually really nice to know. I feel like I should ask anybody do you have any other question? Even though like whilst you were talking, I think I had one thought, but I really lost it as you were talking. So but yeah, I would like to find out from everybody. Does anybody have any questions that you'd like to ask, or anything you know?
I'm an open book.
Okay. Okay, so I'll take it that people don't actually have questions. Lastly, thank God I remember. So you're an art director, right? So you know what good stuff look like. So if you're going to like hire someone, like let's say you happen to like get like a big project, and you maybe have maybe a big Rive project, because every one of us here will gathered basically because of Rive.
Mhm.
All right. What are the things what are those things that you would likely be looking for in someone to hire? And what are those things, what are those qualities for you that makes,
Mhm.
someone, oh, this person is hireable, I can, plug this person into
Mhm.
this project or that project. Um and all that. Then something you mentioned at the beginning, which is one thing I wanted to ask about, is that okay, so in like reaching out to people about jobs, how do you like position yourself? Because for me, like I definitely like vibe a lot more like with the scripting side of things now that I've actually like experimented with it and stuff like that. But I don't mind like like working on like other side of things. I'm not wait, let me make a disclaimer. I'm not great with scripting. Like I don't know if you get, but I like um you know, tinkering with it. You know, mostly I don't like use the AI agent to do my code. Like I do my code first.
Mm-hmm.
If I maybe fall into problems, then I didn't ask, you know, for AI's help. But then sometimes, you know, even after you ask for AI's help, AI complicates your problem. So you have to like go back to your problem yourself and really figure out what exactly is wrong. And I like that journey. Like I like the fact that I'm, you know, taking my time to like really learn stuff like that. So how do I, like, for instance, like am I going to like maybe reach out to someone and say, okay, um am I going to say, oh, I'm definitely going towards like the game side of things with Rive or stuff like that?
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't that like limit, you know, maybe work if I'm thinking in terms of like finances and stuff like that? So what do you think? That's those are the last questions. I believe anybody. Oh,
Yeah, they're good questions. In terms of like what I would look for, particularly on a Rive project, and if I was to like have like a group of like Rive designers and animators together, I think it's sort of like the more I work in Rive and the more I understand the community, I feel like I feel like this is great. There's different skill sets that people, there's different skill sets and strengths within those people. So for instance, where you're talking about like understanding and using code and scripting, that's like a strength that a project, a large Rive project, they might want someone that's really good at understanding coding and scripting. They also maybe want someone that has lots of strength in just good animation, understanding the fundamentals. Like there's different skills that you might want in one project. It will be project by project based, but there's definitely aspects where you will want someone that I think it's hard to do everything, and I don't think you should try to do everything. But there's different aspects in Rive that you can get really strong and really good and knowledge with. So yeah, if you're really enjoying the scripting part, like the coding part, and I think that's a waste, like you can use that as an advantage and a strength when you get into and hired for Rive projects, because that might be that they need that specific skill. And then, for instance, I get a lot of Rive projects that are particularly down to the control of the animation. Now, when I have seen scripts, particularly, they kind of like used to create like a fully interactive piece, or they can be used to like collate what you're designing into a fully interactive piece. But in some of those aspects, you sometimes lose the control as what I need as the actual animator. Like, so there'll be like controls that you have that's part of the script, but it's not easy to go into a timeline and animate those controls because you can't actually see them live in a timeline. So there's different parts of it that are like, it all depends on the project, really, like, and what you need. Again, like when it comes down to the mascot animations and projects that I've done in Rive that don't touch scripting really, there might be an aspect of it that I want to understand, like how I would put like a certain part of a state machine together. But with a character, it's got such bespoke animations and states and character animation states that I need to hand animate it. But there might be other instances and other projects where you can probably use code and scripting to create whatever it is that client needs. I think it is just like a project by project basis, and perhaps what you enjoy the most is what is usually the best thing to focus on. But yeah, as I come from like a long career of animating characters, I just feel really comfortable with motion design. Not necessarily they don't have to be characters, but just still using a timeline to create the motion that I want. So yeah, I feel like on that part, it really depends on the project, on who you'd want to hire for that project. And it's the same thing that could be in After Effects as well. Like, you can get projects that are more about type animation. So I'm not really a type motion designer. I can do it, but I'm not going to be as good as someone that is like really specific about it. So it's similar in that respect as well. And then, sorry, the second part of your question has left my head, if you just want to remind me.
Yeah, like, so it's basically like, do I then reach out to people like and say, oh, hey, like, I just want to focus on like, maybe if you're trying to build a game or something like that. Because honestly, like, if I'm being honest, like, which I'm being honest, I don't know why I said that, but like, you know, like, there's a lot of things, there's a lot of limitations that you face, you know, normally with you know, native Rive. Like, there's some things that you can't do,
Yeah,
except you do some things with scripts.
yeah,
Like, a couple of them, like, you know, you want to, like, you know, you want to animate like a time countdown. Like,
mm-hmm.
you want something that time counts. It's not really, doesn't, I don't know if it really makes sense to say you want to create a, you know, this one weird way. There's one, I won't say weird way. Anyways, there's a way, I think a YouTube creator did it, and it was so complex, it was so complicated, because you were trying to like use timeline, you know, to count whether, you know, the seconds, you know, and stuff like that. There's just some things that, you know, like using native Rive is definitely going to break.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, like, getting to like explore scripting, I know that there are some things that are absolutely like possible. It won't take me like, you know, minutes for me to like, you know, help you like, you know, create like a timer countdown. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I'll probably just, you know, sit down with you know, so it won't take me a long time actually. So but then, so the question is that, do I then, and it's not like I can't animate, like I can animate as well. Like, you know, I like, you know, the animation side of things. It's just like the scripting, you know, has been taking more of my, has been taking a little bit of my attention.
Mm-hmm.
And if I have spare time, I want to explore scripting. Um, would that does it mean that if I want to reach out now, like, you know, obviously, like, a lot of people still do all this, you know, mascots, you know, animation, you know, you're here, like, you know, you do, you know, all those, you know, interactive animation, in, you know, character animation and stuff like that. Do I then, you know, tell them that this is what I'm doing, or like I just leave it open, or, you know, just like, you know, I
Sure.
mean,
I think I guess like on that, what I would also recommend, like when you're like outreaching to people, one of the things I found, like I'm currently rebuilding my website, but because my current website doesn't really show any of my Rive expertise, I've created my own portfolio pitch deck that can be used with like Google Slides, however you want to make this, and that's more useful when I'm out like doing outreach. Is I send a link to the pitch, like my pitch deck, like to show who I am and what I do. So in that, you could tailor it depending on who you're sending it to. So I think that's like the big key, is tailor your portfolio. So maybe have like different portfolio slides depending on who you're outreaching to, and what they're going to be most interested in. So if you've got like lots of UI animation, like lots of scripting animation, make sure you're sending that stuff to a studio, agency, other freelancer that with the work that focuses on that, and then tailor another one. Like if you still enjoy doing the animated size, like using keyframes, characters, etc., show those to like the particular company that does that kind of work. So it's kind of about tailoring the portfolio so it's easy for them to see you can do it and that's what you do. You could have just you can also just have a pitch deck that shows both, because it can also be useful. But what I found about having like this pitch deck about what you do as a work, and like each page kind of shows a project that you've worked on, is that the potential clients or the potential studios can quickly see what it is you do and what it is you've recently worked on. Whereas a website's great to have, but it takes time for a studio to go to a website, go to your homepage, for instance, look through it, find a particular project. I find that having, just a portfolio deck is a winner. Like it directs the client exactly to the exact project you want them to see. Like easy, done. And it should hopefully like help.
Yeah, so I'm going to actually I'll close everything here actually, because left to me, like I could just like keep asking questions, right? But I'll leave all the other questions. Like maybe if I get to maybe send you a message like on Discord, LinkedIn, we could get talk about, because I would like to see your pitch deck anyway.
Yeah, I can send it through.
Yeah, so I and you also let me know if I can actually share with my community as well. Yeah, so so everybody can see it, and we can draft it. There's a very close question to what I'm about to what you explained that I'm going to ask you privately, because this meeting is actually already long already. It's not meant to be more than 40 minutes. So Melly, thank you so much, for coming around, it's been great, to have you around. You've shared so much insight, and thank you. And everybody is showing their appreciation as well. So to another time, where we get to maybe
absolutely shoot me any message anytime. I'm happy to help anyone. Like if they have any other questions, just shoot me an email, shoot me a message on Discord. I'm happy.
Yeah. All right. So I'll send you a message regarding the pitch deck, so I can check it out, and then also send it to people that might also be interested as well.
Great.
Thank you so much. This will bring us to close of today's fireside chat.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye everyone. Bye.